The last human girl. Lyra looked up at the sky. 3 moons floated above her. The stars were different here, not like the ones in her dreams. She was the only human on the planet Virex 9. That's what the aliens told her. They said humans were gone, extinct, lost in a war a long time ago. But sometimes, late at night, Lyra felt something strange in her heart. A pull, a voice, and dreams. Always the same dream. Giant metal soldiers, glowing eyes, and a woman screaming her name. Lyra, run. She would wake up sweating, heart racing, but there was no one to ask. The aliens said the dreams were just her imagination. Lyra didn't believe them. She lived in a tall silver tower with her guardian, Ezekar, an old alien with blue skin and no mouth. He spoke through a device on his chest. "You must not go beyond the garden," he said every day. But Lyra was curious. She wanted to know more. Why was she stronger than the other alien children? Why did she heal faster when injured? Why did machines react to her touch? "You are unique," Ezekar always said. "You are the last human, a child of a dead race." That word, dead, it made her stomach twist. Was she really the last one? One evening, while walking near the garden wall, Lyra saw a flicker, like light bending in the air. A hidden door. She pushed her hand forward. The wall shimmered. Her fingers went through it. It was a hologram. Behind it was a tunnel, dark and cold. Her heart raced, but she stepped in. Her footsteps echoed. At the end of the tunnel, she found a metal door with a strange symbol, a shape with 2 wings, and a burning sun. Her hand touched it. The symbol lit up. A voice whispered through a broken speaker. "Lyra, is that you?" She jumped back. The voice was human. "Who are you?" she whispered. There was silence. Then the voice returned, deeper this time. "You are not alone. Remember who you are." The lights in the tunnel flickered. The symbol on the door burned brighter. Then it shut off. The tunnel went dark. Lyra ran. Back in her room, she couldn't sleep. Her mind buzzed with questions. Who was that voice? How did it know her name? And why did the symbol on the door feel so familiar? She didn't tell Ezekar. She knew he would block the tunnel. Or worse, lock her in the tower. So the next day, she returned to the tunnel. This time, she brought a small light. But the door wouldn't open. The voice didn't come. Only silence. She waited and waited. Then, footsteps. Not hers. She turned off the light and hid behind a pipe. Alien guards in black armor walked in. They looked angry. "Search the area," one said. "The signal came from here." Signal. Did someone call her? Or warn her? The guards walked right past her, never seeing her small form in the shadows. She held her breath until they left. Then something caught her eye, carved on the wall near the door. A message, old and faded. "The blood of the flames still lives." She touched the words. They glowed faintly under her fingers. She didn't know what it meant, but it made her feel strong, brave, not alone. That night, Lyra confronted Ezekar. "Why did you tell me I was the only one?" He tilted his head. "Because it is true." "Then why did I hear a human voice in the lower tunnels?" He didn't answer. She stepped closer. "You lied to me." Still, he said nothing. But his silence said everything. The next day, she tried to reach the tunnel again, but it was blocked. Heavy metal gates sealed it shut. Guards stood around it now. Her only clue, the strange message on the wall, was gone, scrubbed clean, like it had never been there. But Lyra knew the truth now. Someone was out there, watching her, calling her. And the aliens were hiding it. That night, she stood by her window and looked at the stars again. "I'm not alone," she whispered to herself. "I don't know who you are, but I'll find you." Far above the planet, in the deep black sky, something moved. A small ship. No lights. No name. It watched the planet from the shadows. And inside it, a man in dark armor looked at Lyra's image on a screen. "She's alive," he said. "The last flame still burns," whispers through the wall. The next morning, Lyra woke up before the sky turned blue. She had barely slept. Her mind was full of the voice she had heard in the tunnel. It called her name like it knew her. Not just her name, but her. She sat on the edge of her bed, looking down at her hands. They looked like any normal girl's hands. But she knew there was something inside her. Something different. Something the aliens didn't want her to remember. Her room, like everything else in the tower, was clean, bright, and cold. The walls glowed faintly, and soft music played in the background. It was supposed to be peaceful, but to Lyra, it felt like a cage. She walked to the window. Outside, alien children were playing in the garden, laughing, but none of them ever spoke to her for long. They always looked at her like she was strange, dangerous, different, and maybe she was. She turned away and grabbed her small bag. Inside, she placed a light scanner, some energy rations, and a small device she had secretly repaired from scrap. It could scan walls for hidden tech. If the aliens had sealed the tunnel, she would find another way. She slipped out of her room quietly, down the hall, past the training rooms, through the garden, and into the maintenance sector, where only machines and cleaners worked. No one would expect her here. She searched for hours, scanning walls, looking for hidden doors, vents, anything. Finally, deep under the tower, she found something strange, a thick wall with metal beneath it. But her scanner picked up two signals, one behind the wall and one inside it. She pressed her hand to it. The wall felt cold but alive, like it was waiting. And then the whisper returned. "You came back." She froze. The voice wasn't in her ears. It was in her mind. "Who are you?" she whispered. The voice answered softly, like wind across metal. "Your father would be proud. You're not afraid." Lyra's breath caught. "My father." Silence. Then a slow, heavy reply. "You carry the fire, the same fire that once lit the stars. They tried to hide it, but your blood remembers." Her heart pounded. She stepped back. "What do you mean? Who tried to hide it?" The voice grew quieter. "They fear what you are. They fear what's coming. But we're coming too. Soon." A sharp alarm rang from above. Footsteps. The wall went silent. Before she could run, alien guards appeared. Tall, armored, armed. They didn't speak. They grabbed her arms and dragged her away. "Wait, I didn't do anything," she shouted. But the guards didn't care. They took her to a dark room deep inside the tower. Not her room. Not a training hall. A cell. Ezekar came hours later. He stood outside the glowing energy field that kept her locked in. "Why?" Lyra asked him, her voice shaking. "Why did you lie to me? Why say humans are extinct?" Ezekar's chest speaker buzzed. "You were safer believing that." "Safer from what?" He looked down. "From yourself." Her eyes widened. "You know who I am, don't you?" "You've always known." Ezekar didn't answer. Instead, he reached into his robe and placed something on the ground outside the cell. A photo. Old, cracked, faded. But Lyra knew the face in it. Her own eyes. Her own smile. Next to a tall woman in black armor with a red sun symbol on her chest. Her mother. "I don't understand," Lyra whispered, picking up the photo. "Why give this to me now?" Ezekar turned to leave. "Because you're no longer a child, and they will come for you soon." "Who?" "The humans." He stopped. "No, the ones who destroyed them." And then he was gone. Alone in the cell, Lyra stared at the photo for hours. Tears slipped down her cheeks. She had never seen her mother before. But now, everything felt real. The dreams, the voice, the war, her blood. It wasn't a lie. It was a memory, deep inside her. And someone out there still remembered her. Meanwhile, far above Virex 9, in the shadows of a dying moon, a ship powered down its engines. Inside, General Kale stood at a glowing screen, watching the planet below. "She found the door," he said. A tall woman in a silver cloak nodded beside him. "She heard us." "She did more than that," Kale said. She answered. Another voice spoke from the side, an old man in dark armor. "Then we wait no longer. We move at dawn." Back in the cell, Lyra couldn't sleep. She pressed her hand against the wall again. No voice came this time. But she didn't need one. She felt it. A storm was coming. And somehow, she was at the center of it. She was supposed to be the last human. But maybe, just maybe, she would be the first one to return. Prisoner of the lies. Lyra sat in the center of the glowing cell. The walls hummed softly, and the air smelled like burnt metal. She hadn't spoken a word since Ezekar left. He had said something that shook her deeply. "You're no longer a child, and they will come for you soon." But who were they? And why did he leave her with a photo of a woman she never met, but somehow missed? Her mother, a human warrior. The truth was crawling out of the shadows now, bit by bit, and with each new piece, the lies the aliens told her began to crack. Hours passed. The glowing barrier of the cell remained closed. No food, no light change. No one came to see her. She had no clock, no idea how long she had been trapped. But her instincts whispered something strange. She wasn't alone. A soft sound came from the corner of the room. A click, the hiss. A panel in the wall opened slowly. Lyra stood up fast, ready to fight. But no guards entered. Instead, something rolled into the room. A small orb, dusty, rusted. She stepped closer. The orb clicked. Lights turned on. A beam shot upward, and a hologram appeared. It was an alien, old, pale skin, one glowing eye, and a scar that went down its face. "If you are seeing this," the hologram said, "then you are awake, Lyra of the Flame." She froze. "They buried the truth. I could not stop them. But I saved a piece of it here, in this prison, for you." The image flickered, then showed an old video. Human warriors in black and red armor. Battles in space. Explosions. Alien ships falling. Then, a woman stepped forward in the footage. The same woman from the photo. Her mother. Her voice filled the cell. "To my daughter, if you find this, then I have fallen. But you must survive. You carry the fire. You carry hope." Lyra's knees felt weak. Her mother had left this for her. They all knew she would be hunted, hidden, lied to, but not lost. The hologram ended. The orb powered down and rolled away into the panel, which closed again. Lyra stared at the spot for a long time. Something inside her was changing, growing stronger, sharper. This prison wasn't to protect her. It was to control her, to keep her from the truth. She clenched her fists. No more. Outside the cell, two alien guards spoke quietly. One said, "She activated the old message." The other replied, "The lock is weakening." "What about the ship in orbit?" "They still haven't spoken, but we know what they are. And if they come." The first guard paused, then said darkly, "Then the war isn't over." Inside the ship above the planet, General Kell watched the tower closely. His second-in-command, a woman named Risa, stepped forward. She triggered the flame protocol. Risa said, just like her mother did. Kale didn't smile, but his eyes burned with pride. "Then it begins again," he said. "After all these years, the fire still lives. But what if she's not ready?" Risa asked, "What if the girl is too soft?" Kale looked out the window. His voice was calm. Then we make her ready." Back in the cell, Lyra tried to sleep, but every time she closed her eyes, she saw faces. Her mother's. The general in the hologram. The woman who called herself Risa. People from a past she never knew, but was somehow part of. She began to hear the whisper again, faint but clear. "You were not born to live in a cage, Lyra. You were born to lead." She pressed her hand to the energy wall, and it flickered. Just for a second, but enough to make her eyes widen. Her DNA was changing. Something inside her was waking up. The next morning, 2 guards entered the cell. "You will come with us," one said. "Why?" Lyra asked. "What now?" They didn't answer. They took her to a lower level of the tower. A strange place. Cold, silent, filled with giant machines and metal walls covered in ancient writing. She was thrown into a dark room with another prisoner. He sat in the corner, his face hidden under a hood. His skin was cracked and faded like stone. He didn't speak, didn't move. But Lyra could feel something in him. Power. Pain. Memories. She slowly walked over. "Who are you?" she asked softly. The prisoner lifted his head. His eyes were glowing blue. And then he said a word she didn't expect. "Human." Her breath caught. You know what I am." He nodded. "You smell like fire," he said. "Like war. Like her." "Her?" Lyra asked. "The woman who burned the sky," he said. "Your mother." Lyra's knees nearly buckled. "You knew her?" "I fought beside her," the prisoner said. "And then I betrayed her." Silence fell. The lights buzzed. Lyra didn't move. "You betrayed her?" she asked. The prisoner's voice broke. "I believed the lies. I thought humans would destroy us all. I helped them trap her." He looked at her with sorrow. "But now, I see. The ones who lied were afraid. Afraid of what you could become." Lyra leaned forward. "What can I become?" The prisoner gave a slow, sad smile. "The one who ends the silence. The one who brings humans back." Suddenly, the walls shook. A deep, loud sound rang out through the tower. The prisoner stood. "They've come," he said. Lyra ran to the door. Lights turned red. Sirens screamed. Alien voices shouted outside. A ship was landing. Not an alien one. A human one. And they weren't here to talk. They were here for her. The arrival. The entire tower shook. Dust fell from the ceiling. The lights flickered, then turned red. An alarm screamed through every floor. Lyra pressed herself against the wall, heart pounding. Outside the cell, guards were shouting. Something powerful had just landed, and everyone knew it wasn't friendly. She turned to the old prisoner beside her. "You said they've come." "Who?" she asked. The man's glowing blue eyes stared ahead, distant but alert. "Your people." Far above Virex 9, the sky split open. A sleek black ship, silent and sharp like a blade, cut through the atmosphere. No markings, no calls for landing permission. It simply came. The aliens watching from the control towers panicked. Defense systems locked on. Sirens echoed through the command posts. But the ship didn't slow down. It descended fast, dodging every scan, ignoring every warning. The alien commander inside the tower shouted, "Fire all weapons." Missiles launched from the surface, dozens of them. The black ship tilted, moved, spun, and danced through the attack like it knew the future. Not a single hit landed. Inside the alien prison sector, Lyra could feel the vibration in her bones. The ship wasn't just flying, it was declaring war. The old prisoner looked at her calmly. "They didn't come for peace. They came for you." Lyra's eyes widened. "Why now? Why not before?" The man smiled faintly. "Because now, you're ready." With a thunderous crack, the prison walls began to tremble. Dust and sparks exploded from the ceiling. Pipes burst. Then, silence. Too quiet. Too sudden. The cell doors blinked once, twice, and shut off. The glowing energy barrier that held her vanished. Lyra didn't wait. She ran out into the hall. Guards lay unconscious, some crushed, some frozen in fear. And in the middle of it all, they stood. 3 tall figures in pitch-black armor, helmets shaped like wolves, red glowing eyes, human symbols on their shoulders. One was the burning sun, like the one her mother wore. One of the figures looked straight at her. He didn't speak. He didn't have to. She felt it in her bones. He knew her. The armored humans moved quickly, covering the corridor like shadows. One lifted a hand, scanning her with a blue beam. Identity confirmed. A cold voice said through his helmet, "Lyra, genetic match. Commander's bloodline. Priority 1. The second figure turned to her. His voice was deep and full of power. "We came for you. The galaxy needs the flame again." Before she could ask what that meant, the ground shook again. More aliens were coming. Heavy footsteps echoed from the hall. The humans moved fast. The leader took a step forward, raised his weapon, a smooth black rifle, and aimed down the corridor. But he didn't fire yet. He waited. For her. "Take it," he said, offering her a small device. Lyra looked down. It was a palm-sized disc with sharp edges and a red center. "What is it?" she asked. "A memory key," he said. "Your mother left it for you. Only your touch can open it." She took it in shaking hands. The moment her skin touched the red center, the disc glowed. A soft pulse spread through her fingers and into her chest. And then, her mother's voice. "Lyra, if you're hearing this, the humans have returned. You must lead them. You must burn bright." Lyra gasped. The soldiers nodded. "You are no longer hidden," the leader said. "Now you rise." Blaster fire echoed through the halls. The aliens had reached them. A group of guards charged from the far end, 20 of them, all armed, all aiming at her and the human warriors. The leader didn't flinch. He moved like lightning. So did the others. They didn't just fight. They danced through the battle. Every move was perfect. Every shot hit. The aliens never stood a chance. And in the middle of it all, Lyra watched, frozen. Then something inside her clicked. A memory of battlefields, of commands shouted, of her own voice leading soldiers. Not a dream, a memory. She picked up a fallen alien weapon and ran to the front. The leader looked at her once and stepped aside, letting her lead. They stormed through the prison halls, floor by floor. Lyra guided them through the secret tunnels she had explored. The old prisoner stayed behind, holding off more guards so she could escape. She didn't look back. There was no time. Finally, they reached the outer walls of the tower. The sky above was dark, but not from night. Alien ships swarmed overhead. Panic filled the city. But far in the clouds, more black human ships began to break through. One by one. Dozens. Hundreds. They came like a storm, like a forgotten army waking up after centuries of sleep. And at their center, the flagship, twice the size of the others, carrying a name burned into its hull. Solus Regnum, the sun's kingdom. Her mother's ship. A human dropship landed in front of her. Its doors opened fast. Rissa stepped out, armor shining, eyes sharp. "You made it," she said. Lyra nodded, gripping the memory key in her hand. "Not yet," she said, "but I'm starting to remember." The human leader turned to her. "Once you board that ship, everything changes. The galaxy will know humans still live, and that their fire burns through you." Lyra looked back at the burning tower behind her, the lies, the cage, then at the sky ahead, filled with ships, stars, and something more. Hope. She stepped onto the dropship. Doors closed. Engines roared. And Lyra, once a forgotten girl hidden among aliens, rose into the sky as the future leader of a reborn human race. Blood and truth. The dropship soared into the clouds, leaving the burning alien tower far behind. Lyra sat near the window, gripping the memory key tightly. Her heart raced with fear, wonder, and something else. Power. She could feel it inside her now. Something had changed the moment she touched that key. Her skin tingled. Her thoughts felt sharper, clearer. The dreams she once had, they weren't dreams. They were memories. Of war, of command, of her mother's voice. The door opened with a hiss. Rissa stepped in, her armor still glowing faintly from the heat of battle. She sat across from Lyra and gave her a slow nod. "You did well down there." "I was scared," Lyra admitted. "Good," Rissa said. "Only fools aren't." They sat in silence for a moment. Then Rissa's voice softened. "We didn't come just to rescue you, Lyra. We came because you are the only one left who can finish what your mother started." Lyra looked at the memory key in her hand. "She knew I'd find this," she whispered. "She planned everything," Rissa said, "even her death." The dropship docked into the flagship Solus Regnum, the most powerful human ship ever built. It had been hidden for years in deep space, waiting for one signal. Lyra's awakening. The doors opened. Warm white lights filled the hallway. Soldiers in black and red armor stood in lines, saluting her as she walked by. She felt like a stranger in her own story. And yet, everything felt familiar, like a life she had lived before. General Kale stood at the center of the command bridge. He turned as she entered. He didn't smile, but there was pride in his eyes. "Welcome home, Lyra." She stopped. "I don't know this place." "You will," he said. He walked with her down the long corridor. "There's something inside you," Kale continued. "Not just memories, not just leadership. Your mother made sure of that." He paused at a thick metal door with a glowing red sensor. "Your blood holds the last human genetic code, pure, unbroken, untouched by alien tampering." He held up a small needle-like device. "We need to scan it." Lyra took a breath, then nodded. The moment the needle touched her skin, the lights around them began to flicker. Machines powered on across the lab. A hidden chamber opened. Inside was a metal table, cold, silent, holding the glowing cube. Rissa stepped forward. This was the last artifact recovered before the war ended. We never could open it. Kale looked at Lyra. "Until now." She stepped forward. The cube pulsed the moment she neared. It floated into the air, rotated slowly, and unfolded. Inside was a holographic message, her mother's face again. "If this cube opens, it means my daughter has survived. It means the fire still burns." Her mother's voice cracked with emotion. "Lyra, you were made for more than survival. Inside your blood is a signal, a beacon. It leads to the last hidden army of humanity." Lyra's eyes widened. "They are asleep. Deep under the ruined moon of Cellin X, only your DNA can wake them." The message ended. Silence filled the room. Everyone stared at her. Kale finally spoke. "We thought we were all that remained, but there's more. Thousands of soldiers, a whole fleet, and I can wake them." Lyra whispered. Reza nodded. "Your mother knew the war would go underground. She left a future. You're it." But the moment felt too big, too heavy. Lyra stepped back, heart pounding. "I'm just one girl." "No," Kale said calmly. "You're the last daughter of the flame. You're the next commander." Suddenly, alarms blared through the ship. Rissa turned toward the nearest console. "Incoming transmission. Not human." Kale walked over, put it on screen. The screen flickered. A tall, shadowed figure appeared. Its face was hidden under thick armor made of living metal. Its voice was deep, twisted. "Return the girl to us." Lyra's breath caught. Rissa narrowed her eyes. "Who are you? "We are the silence," the figure answered. "We ended your kind once. We will not let her light the flame again." The screen cut off. A cold silence filled the room. Cale turned to Lyra. "That was the real enemy. Not the aliens who raised you, not the false leaders who lied. Them. The ones who turned entire planets to ash." "The silence," Lyra whispered. "I've heard that name. In my dreams." Cale nodded. "Not dreams. Genetic memory. Passed down from your mother. Locked inside your mind." Outside the window, ships moved into formation. Human vessels. Rising. Ready. But they were few. Not enough. Unless she could find the lost army. Unless she could wake the flame. Risa placed a hand on Lyra's shoulder. "We're going to Cellin X. You'll lead the mission." Lyra looked out at the stars. Her hand shook. Not from fear. From purpose. For the first time in her life, she knew why she was born. Not to be hidden. Not to be protected. But to fight. To finish a war started long ago. Later that night, Lyra stood alone in the observation deck, looking at the stars. She held the memory key in her hand. She whispered softly, "I don't know if I can do this, Mom." But deep inside her, something answered. Not with words, but with strength. The next day, the fleet turned toward the dead moon of Cellin X, and behind them, the silence moved too. Watching. Waiting. Preparing for war. The flame of humanity. The dead moon of Cellin X drifted in silence, cold and lifeless. Its surface was gray, cracked, and forgotten by time. No lights, no cities, no movement. But deep beneath the surface, something was waiting, and Lyra was on her way to find it. Inside the command center of the Solus Regnum, Lyra stood in full gear for the first time. Her armor was black with red lines that pulsed faintly with her heartbeat. On her chest was the symbol of the burning sun, the mark of her bloodline. Risa stepped beside her, checking weapons and power levels. "You look like her," she said softly. Lyra turned. "My mother." Risa nodded. "But it's not just the armor. It's the eyes. That fire. She had it too. Especially before a battle." Lyra didn't feel brave. Her hands were still trembling. But her voice was steady. "I don't want to be her. I want to be better." Cale entered, his face calm as always. "This is more than a rescue mission," he said. "If the silence reaches the sleepers first, they'll destroy the last army of Earth. If you fail, we all fall." Lyra nodded once. She was ready. The dropship sliced through the moon's thin atmosphere. The surface was empty, gray dust, black craters, and ancient wreckage from a battle long ago. But hidden below all that was Chamber Solis, the last hope of humanity. The ship landed beside a jagged cliff. The team, Lyra, Risa, and a small unit of elite warriors, stepped out. The wind was quiet. No birds, no life, just the hum of distant machines beneath the ground. They reached an old platform, half buried under dust. Lyra touched it, and it lit up beneath her palm. The rocks began to shake. Metal doors opened silently into the earth. A long tunnel stretched below, dark, deep, untouched for years. They entered. The tunnel walls were covered in old human markings. Ancient tech blinked slowly, reacting to Lyra's presence. "This place responds to your DNA," Risa whispered. "No one else could activate it." Lyra kept walking. With every step, her pulse grew louder in her ears. Not from fear, but from something awakening inside her. They reached a huge chamber, so wide they couldn't see the other side. And in it, rows and rows of dark metal cryopods. Thousands, each one holding a sleeping human soldier. Preserved. Waiting. Silent. Cal's voice came through the comms. "You found them." "Yes," Lyra said. "They're here." He didn't speak for a moment. Then, "Activate them. Wake the flame." Lyra stepped toward the central console. The memory key pulsed in her hand. She placed it in the slot. The room hummed, then shook. Slowly, one by one, the pods began to light up. Blue mist filled the air. Figures inside the pods started to move. Eyes opened. Red, gold, silver, each soldier perfectly preserved. The flame army was waking. Risa whispered in awe. "They're beautiful." One soldier stepped out first, taller than the rest, with silver armor and white eyes. He looked at Lyra and saluted. "Commander." Lyra blinked. "You know me. We know your blood. We've been waiting for your signal for 72 years. He looked around. "Is the war still on?" Lyra nodded. "It's about to end, one way or another." Suddenly, alarms screamed. Not from the chamber. From orbit. Kel's voice shouted through the comms. "Silence fleet inbound. Too many to count. They found us." The reawakened soldier raised his head. "The flame is ready." Risa turned to Lyra. "Give the order." Lyra's hands trembled once more, but her voice, steady, clear, unbreakable. "Deploy the flame. We fight now." Above Selenex, the sky was no longer quiet. Dozens of massive silent ships dropped from hyperspace, shaped like daggers made of black smoke and living metal. They opened fire before even entering full orbit. The Solus Regnum fired back, its cannons lighting up space with red bursts of pure heat. Human ships formed a wall, but they were outnumbered. Until flame ships launched from underground silos. Thousands of them. Piloted by warriors who had just woken, but remembered everything. The silence of the moon became a roar of battle. Lyra stood on the command deck of her own ship now, the rising sun, a gift from Kale. Its controls responded to her touch like it had waited for her forever. Risa sat beside her, weapons ready, shield up. Lyra stared out the window at the enemy ships and spoke one sentence. "Let's finish what they started." The battle began. Explosions lit up the stars. Human fighters zipped through the dark like fireflies, dodging deadly beams from the Silence Fleet. But the enemy had new weapons, creatures made of metal and smoke, moving without sound, attacking with pure energy. Lyra's ship was hit once, twice, but her pilot was fast, and her orders came like lightning. She saw the soldiers she had awakened, fighting without fear, defending each other, protecting her. This was her family now. Not just by blood, by purpose. Suddenly, her screen flashed. A massive Silence warship was powering something. A beam. Dark purple, unlike anything they had seen before. It wasn't firing at the ships. It was aimed at the moon. "They want to destroy the Flame Army," Risa shouted. "If that beam hits the surface," Kale said over comms, "we lose everything." Lyra didn't wait. She grabbed the controls and aimed straight at the enemy cannon. "We're going in," she said. Risa stared at her. "That's suicide." Lyra's eyes glowed faintly now, the same way her mother's once had. "It's not suicide. It's hope." The rising sun dove into the enemy line, dodging fire from every angle. A squad of flame fighters followed her lead, forming a tight shield around her ship. They flew through the cannon's guard fleet like a needle through cloth. The giant Silence beam began to glow brighter. 10 seconds from firing. 5. 3. Lyra's ship launched its core missile straight into the beam emitter. It hit. A blinding explosion lit the sky. The enemy cannon shattered into pieces. Cheers erupted over comms. The moon, and the Flame Army, was safe. But the blast hit her ship hard. Systems failed. The ship spun out of control, heading toward the dark side of the moon. Risa tried to stabilize. "We're going down." Lyra whispered, "Don't let go." And the screen went dark. The return of the warriors. Silence. Cold. Dark. Lyra opened her eyes slowly. Everything was still. Dust floated through the broken glass of the ship's window. Sparks popped from the ceiling above her. She tried to sit up, but her body ached. Her armor was cracked, blood on her forehead, her hands shaking. Then she heard a voice. Faint. Familiar. Lyra, are you alive? Risa. She turned her head. Risa lay against the wall, her arm twisted but her eyes alert. I'm here, Lyra whispered. And she meant it. She was still here. Alive. And the war wasn't over yet. They had crashed on the dark side of Selenex, far from the battle above. The stars no longer burned through the windows, just the long black shadows of craters and broken stone. They crawled from the wreckage. Above them, the sky flickered with distant light. Explosions and fire from the space battle still raging. But here, on the surface, something else stirred. Not machines. Not humans. Not life. The silence had landed. A strange fog moved across the moon's surface. Not natural. It moved with purpose, like it was searching. Lyra pulled Risa behind a jagged rock formation. Her comms were dead. Her suit power was nearly drained. But the memory key still pulsed in her pouch. A soft rhythm, like a heartbeat. Risa whispered, "We need extraction." Lyra nodded. "We can't contact the fleet." Then she heard a sound. A low hum. A vibration under her feet. A portal of swirling black energy opened before them. And from it, they came. Tall, twisted, shadow-born warriors in silence armor. But these were not machines. They were once human, now corrupted. The silence had learned to twist human DNA, using it to build their own army. Soulless, obedient, deadly. Lyra's stomach turned. "They used us," she whispered. "They fed on our past." Risa reached for her weapon. "We fight, or we die." Lyra stood slowly, her legs shaking but firm. "No," she said. "We fight, and we live." The first shadow warrior struck, fast as lightning. Lyra dodged, barely. She rolled, picked up a fallen blade from the wreckage, and struck back. Her arm screamed in pain, but her mind was calm, clear. The warrior exploded in a burst of black mist. Another one charge. Then two more. Risa fired with her last rounds. Lyra swung like her blood remembered the moves. Because it did. Then, the mist froze. Every shadow stopped. The ground shook. A huge figure stepped through the fog. 10 feet tall, covered in jagged armor, its face hidden behind a silver mask. The leader of the silence. It looked at Lyra and spoke. "So, the child of fire lives." Its voice echoed inside her head. "You are the last. We ended your kind once, and we will do it again." Lyra stood, sword shaking in her hands. "No," she said. "You didn't end us. You just made us stronger." The creature's eyes glowed. "You carry the seed, the fire. You were supposed to be broken, but instead, you burn." Suddenly, light flashed in the sky. A dropship burst through the clouds, trailing fire and smoke, but still flying. The rising sun's backup crew had found them. Behind it, hundreds of flame fighters descended, pushing the silent ships back into orbit. The final battle had begun. The Shadow Leader charged at Lyra. Their blades clashed, metal screaming. Lyra was fast, but he was stronger. Each hit shook her bones. Her body cried for rest. But her heart, it was fire. She dodged, rolled, struck back. He blocked and hit harder. A beam of black energy missed her head by inches. And then, it happened. The memory key around her neck glowed bright. So bright it blinded the sky. And inside her, something unlocked. Time slowed. Her eyes glowed gold. Images rushed through her mind. Her mother in battle, her voice in the wind, the DNA codes, the flame legacy. She was not just the last human girl. She was the commander reborn. Lyra screamed and struck. Her blade, now glowing red-hot, sliced through the enemy's armor. The shadow creature howled. She struck again, and again, until he fell, silent, broken, dead. The other shadow warriors froze, then shattered into dust. The Silence leader was gone, and with him, his army crumbled. Above, the human fleet pushed the last enemy ship into retreat. Victory. But not peace. Not yet. Later, back aboard the Solus Regnum, Lyra stood before the full flame army. Thousands of awakened warriors, commanders, pilots, scientists, survivors. General Kale stepped aside and let her speak. She looked at them all, eyes filled with hope, pain, and strength. "We were told humans were extinct," she began. "But we are still here. We were hidden, hunted, lied to. But now we rise." Her voice rang through the halls. "We are the children of the flame, and we will not be forgotten." The army roared back. "We return." News spread across the galaxy. The Silence had fallen back. The humans had returned. And they were not what the universe remembered. They were smarter, stronger, united. Because of one girl who had nothing, and became everything. Final scene. Lyra stood on the bridge, staring out at the stars. Beside her, Risa healed. Kale planned, and the Flame Army prepared to build again. A new world, a new order, one not ruled by fear, but by fire. She was the last human girl. Now, she was the first commander of a new age.